Konnichiwa! Nihon Cricket Podcast Yokoso! Boku no namae wa Alan desu. I think that even those who have never heard a word of Japanese before can understand that, but just in case, hello and welcome to the Japan Cricket Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Kerr, and on this show I will speak to the people who have played a role in the shaping of cricket in Japan, both on and off the field. Well, my guest this week is a now two-time JCL winner, Japan Cup runner-up this year. Scored his first 100 in the Japan Cricket League this year. He was the youngest player to represent Japan, called into the squad at 14 and made his debut at 15. He's the 83rd player to represent the Japan men's team and the 43rd player to play for the under-19s. Japan's leading run scorer at under-19 level and the man to captain them at a global tournament. Marcus Thurgate, welcome onto the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Alan. And I think you forgot to mention that I'm the first player to face the ball at the Sanmu cricket ground and XICG1 turf pitch.
The important stuff. Your legacy.
Yes.
How did I miss that? Can't believe it. I will tell myself.
I might be the youngest guest in the podcast.
I think you probably are the youngest guest in the podcast.
Yeah.
So that's going to be another one I should add into your bio. So, mate, before we get cracking, we should probably talk about last weekend. Big weekend for the Chiba Sharks. Big weekend for you personally. How was the celebrations? How were they? And what was the feeling amongst the group, having got that win relatively comfortably in the end on Saturday against the Tokyo Falcons?
Yeah, it was a memorable weekend, definitely. But the whole month, the build up to this grand final was a pretty special month because with the Japan Cup Finals, which was probably a surprise for everyone. It was even a surprise for us. We really built some momentum from that, and also in that grand final, it was good to have guys like Dougal back, and I think the atmosphere with the club was awesome, and we're glad that we got that win.
Yeah, and a few guys coming around to support as well. You guys had, I think, a 12th, 13th, and 14th man, as well as having. Saw Dave Lockback was there. I saw Clamper
His family was
down.
there too.
So good to see some of the old boys coming back and still staying involved.
It's always great when you have people who support the club, and there are guys who came to the ground, but there are also there are a lot of people who are supporting us online. So yeah, it was just a pretty special day for the club.
Yeah, cool. Well, look, we'll talk a bit more in detail about that a little later on, but we like to start at the beginning. We like to do things in a linear fashion on this podcast. So take us all the way back to January 2001. You probably can't remember being born, but you were born in Chiba. Why don't you start off telling us a little bit about your parents? Aussie dad, Japanese mum. Tell us a little bit about them and how they ended up living in Chiba.
Yeah, so I don't really know why they ended up living in Chiba, but my mum was actually born in Chiba. So I think he obviously comes from there, but I was also born in Chiba. Moved to the place called Owami, which is east of Chiba, fairly quickly. I think I was about three weeks old when I moved. So, and I've been here ever since. It's a countryside Chiba with pretty close to the beach, I'd say.
There's proper family home, and you've been there a long time, right? And you guys get down to the beach quite a bit and host barbecues and always having people around.
Yeah, we used to have a annual Chiba Sharks party at our place, which used to be a fun day but with the COVID and a slightly busier cricket seasons now, we haven't been able to do one recently, but it's just the kind of stuff that I really miss.
Yeah, I need to get that revived. So you went through the Japanese school system. So I think a lot of people probably assume that you grew up playing cricket at school and stuff, but that wasn't the case at all, right? You went through the Bukatsu system. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what that was like and the challenges that you might have faced in your early years around your sport?
So I went to a normal Japanese school, like just normal public kindergarten to elementary school to junior high school, and had to do the entrance exams for the high school. And I actually started playing cricket when I was 10. So there was nothing around me to start with. So basically my parents made a club called Chiba Stars for me. So that's where it all started. But I wasn't really into cricket at that stage because I just didn't realize how big cricket was because I've been here my whole life and haven't really experienced that Australian cricket culture sort of thing. So when I first really got into cricket was when I actually went to Australia when I was about 11 or 12, I think. So I started playing about when I was 10, but I think 12 years old, I went to Australia, watched a couple of test matches on TV, and seeing Ricky Ponting bringing up his 100 sort of, got me more passionate about cricket. So that's where I really found my love with cricket. And as you said, I went to a Japanese junior high school where pretty much all students choose one sport to do for their bukatsu system, and I chose soft tennis, which is not the usual tennis, but it's like it's played with a rubber ball, and it's actually made for like Japan's school sport. So I used to train like 5 days a week and probably another day on the weekend. So it did get pretty hectic, and I did find it pretty hard to balance with cricket, but I usually had that one day left, so I used to spend that day practicing with the mileways or doing 12th man for the Chiba Sharks.
Yeah, okay. So then going through that system, did you find that playing different sports has ultimately helped or hindered your cricket development?
Yes and no, I'd say, because obviously when you're training 5 days a week, it makes you pretty fit. And I used to be pretty chubby before that. And to be honest, I lost a lot of weight during that period. So obviously that helped. But with the soft tennis, you have to hit the ball slightly like uppish than the normal tennis. So that did not help me at all because I used to get caught at mid on, mid off, like pretty much every game.
Used to.
It's more mid wicket now. So in terms of that, it didn't really help. But definitely being fit for the sport in terms of doing all those hard yards at running and stuff obviously help.
And also training your hand-eye coordination as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
see ball, hit ball sport.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
that's the thing for people who might be listening to this podcast for the first time and don't know about the Japanese sports in schools system. Kind of everyone specializes, right? From the age of 12, you pick a sport and that's what you do 5-6 days a week until you leave school at age 18. So people don't really get a chance to play multiple sports. So for you, you had to make an extra effort. And I guess that's the case for people now still, once they leave elementary school and stop being able to do multiple activities. I guess what advice would you give to kids in that situation who have really enjoyed playing cricket at under 12 level, but are suddenly faced with all the commitments that come with being involved in the bukatsu?
Yeah, and it's actually a shame because in that bukatsu system, what often happens is pretty much a lot of people just apply for that 3 years, or maybe they'll continue in the high school. So they'll probably focus on that one sports for 6 years, and after that, like they'll just literally stop and won't take any part in the like social sports activity they do. So it is a shame that, because I think a lot of people can be burned out and lose like their passion and love for just playing sports. So it is important to find balance, and I think the important thing in sports is to enjoy it and to love it. So that finding that right balance is definitely important. And I think, as I said, I used to have that one day available, and I used to spend that day hopping on the car with Dad for the Chiba Sharks second 11 game, doing 12th man, running around the field, and I found that fun. So there's always I think cricket always has that an element that you can enjoy, whether that is playing or not. Just hanging around the guys is fun. So I think
it's a social sport, right?
Social sport, yeah.
People aren't on the field all the time, so you can get to hang out with them, regardless. So is it fair? My opinion or my view of Japanese school sports is that it's very much physical education. It's PE. It's not about fun and enjoyment.
No.
Is that a fair reflection? And did you find that cricket gave you that outlet, so you got to see how sport can be run differently rather than just the Japanese way, and that helped you.
Yeah, I think in Japanese school sports they try to do it. I don't know. It's kind of unprofessional, but I think they just take it too seriously at times. Like they don't really get the point of having fun sort of thing. I actually remember one of my teachers at school tell me like, this is not about fun, it's about winning. So I'm like,
That's like the complete opposite of what
we do cricket, right? So
that's interesting. I mean, I think that, with kids who have come through, the Cricket Blast programs, we do see a couple who come back. Like, it's very, very difficult for us to keep players in the game once they go into junior high school, high school. The commitment that comes, we've got better at it in the last sort of 5-6 years. There have been quite a few guys and girls who have come through, but the hope for us, I guess, is that if we can get people at under 12 level to enjoy it and be playing the game and then want to come back later, they've at least got that grounding in the sport and they've got that kind of muscle memory. And you see someone like Meg Ogawa, for example, has gone away, played basketball to a pretty high level, and she said that she would train. Her dad was telling me that it was 364 days a year. She got New Year's Day off and that was it. So it's pretty intense to come from that environment and then to come back to Japan cricket is a bit of a shock for her, I think. But at the same time, she hopes to bring Japan cricket up a little bit in terms of its attitude towards training, which I think is needed. But also, I think she's just happy to be in a slightly less intense environment.
Yeah, I agree with that because I mean, I agree both of that because I think when it comes to in terms of the national team stuff, it is definitely more than just having fun, and you need to win competitions for your country. So I mean, getting more of that, the payee sort of thing into like the national team stuff is like great, and that is definitely what we need. But yeah, I think
in that earlier club level, it's
definitely the club cricket and especially under 19s and junior cricket, it needs to be fun. Otherwise, people would just
don't enjoy it. You don't keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. You mentioned that the Chiba Sharks barbecues at your house and always being around sort of cricketers, I guess. Do you think that culture rubbed off on you a little bit and has made cricket an appealing sport as well?
Yeah, I guess so. Because I mean, I know these Sharks guys since I was 4, basically. Because my dad's been playing. My dad's actually a founding member of the Chiba Sharks, so I had these foreigners around me since I was very young. So, I mean,
and the Chiba Sharks is probably one of the most multicultural clubs in Japan.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not just a bunch of Aussies. It's Aussies, Japanese, English guys. There's Indians, Pakistanis, Sri Lankans. There's everyone. Chiba Sharks. Does that kind of helped give you quite a global outlook on life?
Yeah, definitely. Because as you said, it's a multicultural club, and everyone has different kind of lifestyles, and I did realize that as from a quite young age, and I do understand the cultural differences, I guess, slightly better than other guys who are my age group.
Yeah, I mean, Japan's not really known as a particularly multicultural society, so
I think it is changing though.
Yeah, it is definitely slowly, very slowly. But it's your generation is at the forefront of that.
Yeah,
guys who are in their early 20s now who have grown up and sort of having friends from non-Japanese friends from childhood.
Yeah. I realized that because Japan cricket always cops it from people around the world for having basically guys like me with English surnames. But when you actually look at other sports, I was watching the Olympics this year and realized like it is actually becoming a thing in Japan that it is becoming a very multicultural country because you look at the other sports and they do have some like I get what you say, non-Japanese names there too. So I really think Japan as a whole country is changing little by little.
Yeah, sure. We could go off on a tangent here massively, which we'll try to avoid. But whilst we're on it, like it's something we talked with Kendall a lot about, and people tend to draw conclusions based on a name, which must be incredibly frustrating. you've just detailed how you were born in Japan to a Japanese mother and have been through the Japanese school system, but because your name's Marcus Thurgate, people assume you're not Japanese, which is madness, really. How does that affect you? Does it bug you, or do you just not care?
It makes me more passionate about Japan, I guess. And I think it is a case for some of the other boys too, because I know some of my teammates in the under-19s club, like Deba, he's another one who's very passionate about Japan. So it does.
Yeah, Deba's just been here since he was like 2 years old or something, I think.
Yep, it makes me really, passionate about, I guess, being Japanese, because like no one knows that, it is pretty frustrating though, because they don't know the full story about it, and to just like think that, just because I've got a name called Thurgate. There was an interesting comment on Facebook. I think someone said he's probably from West Tokyo in Sydney or something.
I remember seeing something like you doing, obviously you have to do all your interviews in English, right?
Yeah.
And this is at the Under-19 World Cup. And we'll talk a bit more about that later. But I remember seeing some comment underneath saying, oh yeah, nice South Sydney accent, obviously really Japanese. It's like, you're just getting punished for being able to speak 2 languages.
Yes,
like,
yeah, I know.
you could have done the interview in Japanese, but no one would understand it.
Yeah, it was pretty frustrating. But,
those kind of conclusions, I mean, it is racism, basically. But I find that, people who are half Japanese generally are very proud of both of their cultures.
Yeah.
As people who listen to this podcast regularly will know, I've got a half Japanese daughter, and she is definitely going to grow up very aware of both sides.
Yeah, definitely.
That's something that we as parents take very seriously.
Yeah. Made me think, like, I should have somehow sneaked in my middle name during the World Cup, because my middle name is Yuta. It is a Japanese name, so I think that would have shut up a couple of people, I guess.
Well, that's it. And I mean, it's funny, like you look at Kento Otodobel. He's Otodobel for Japan because his Japanese passport has his Japanese family name on it. And as a result, purely of that, he got bracketed in the Japanese group by these journalists who were just making stuff up during the World Cup. Whereas you and Ash got put as, the expat multicultural player. Like, hang on. Kento's, don't get me wrong, Kento's half Japanese and is very passionate about Japan, but he's been living in Australia for a very long time.
I've never lived in Australia. I've only traveled to Australia before, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So people make their conclusions, and we can't control that. We don't have any influence over what people will say and what conclusions people will come up with based on minimal information. But hopefully, things like this will help change that a little bit. Anyway, massively off topic. Let's come back to junior cricket.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up, are there any particular tournaments or events that you remember that really helped cement your love of the game?
Yeah, I really used to enjoy the under-15s, under-19s tournament, because it used to be our 3 days 3-day competition. So we only had that 3 days during I think it was August every year, and we basically trained pretty hard for that 3 days, and we were very passionate about that 3 days. And it used to be a pretty good contest too, because we were playing against teams like Winomiya, who had Tani and Takadi and Wakita and Tomiza, who were already playing for, I think Tani and Takadi were already playing for the national team, and I think Waki and Tommy were already knocking on the doors back then. So. And
Tani and Takadi were both part of that early under-19s group.
Yeah, they were.
Played in 2011, I guess. Maybe even 2009 as well.
Yeah. And we had guys like, similar age groups. Obviously, Louis and Munib and Neil.
Rui Matsumura and Munib Sadiq.
It used to be a very competitive 3 days, and we finally won in 2015. I think we won the under-19s trophy that year, and I remember running on the field with everyone, and we stayed up pretty late that night, so that was fun days.
Yeah, I was going to say, so do you think having that singular focus, we talked about having to balance it with the Bukatsu and all of that.
Yeah.
The fact that it was just one thing that you worked towards, you weren't playing like huge amount of league cricket. It wasn't too much of a demand on your time.
Yeah.
Having that singular focus, do you think that actually helped keep you motivated?
I think it did for us because, as you say, in terms of like, playing cricket, you basically only had to concentrate on that 3 days. But I think I think the guys at Chiba Sharks are slightly different because we have this connection with Chiba Sharks that, we can still take part in some cricket other than those 3 days. So, but I think, with the season spread out now, I do find that some kids actually struggle to find that balance a bit more.
Yeah, it's funny. Like we're trying really hard to put on more and more junior cricket, but
Yeah.
actually worth thinking about. The time commitment it takes for certain kids.
Yeah.
It can be challenging. Our tournaments, so they have to be 5 matches as minimum, right?
Yeah.
Counting as a tournament. So hopefully that's not too much of a commitment. It's basically 1 game a month.
Yeah.
If it's spread out properly, although it doesn't tend to work like that, it tends to be quite heavy in the school holidays.
Yeah.
But yeah, scheduling is a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we had one kid who had to pull out of the grand final because he had exams. So I think,
Yeah, people have always got exams at one point or another.
yeah. So
Especially with picking from kids who might be at international schools as well, because all the exams for all these schools are at different times.
Different
So
times,
there's always someone who it's not ideal for. Okay, so you went to a few of those tournaments, and obviously playing at Fuji is pretty cool place to play.
Yeah.
My memory definitely was of the Maiwais losing a lot of finals,
the grand finals,
particularly the under 15s.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys lost like 3 in a row to Uenomio, and then you started losing to the Sano Braves as well. Well, first of all, that must have been pretty annoying. But secondly, did you find that it helped you enjoy the wins a bit more?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. The grand final I mentioned before, the under 19s grand final that I mentioned before, was actually a week after I lost the under 15s grand final to, I think it was
Sano. I remember that one. I was umpiring that game.
Oh, right. Yeah, it did make the wins more sweet. But yeah, I used to hate losing those games because, as I said, that 3 days, that we put everything into, and was just heartbreaking.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, it's a good amount of cricket, right? It's 3 days, so you play 4 or 5 games across the 3 days.
Yeah.
And then it all comes down to that final match. So yeah, I guess you would be pretty heartbroken. Well, I mean, you guys certainly. I remember that under 15s final. It was Sano's first time they won it.
Yeah.
And I remember that it was Masahiro Motojima hit the winning runs. Didn't really know what to do. It's like, I think I was so surprised to have won.
Yeah.
And you guys all just kind of slumped on the ground.
Yeah, it's interesting because we used to dominate in the other games, and somehow I think we are very confident going into the grand final every game. So it's not ideal. Why'd you go into a grand final? But yeah.
Well, you talk about those other games. It was around that time you would have scored your first 100, right? I've got a YouTube footage of you smashing 100 against Sano Braves at Sano 1. Do you have many memories of that? And do you enjoy your first 100?
I did enjoy it, definitely. I actually remember it pretty well too. I think it was against Sano Braves, Sano 1, and I think it was against guys like Shu and Reiji, who, I played under 19s with after that. So, I mean, I did remember it pretty well. And as I said, I did watch that YouTube footage too, and my technique was better back then. So I think it is something that I need to go back and
it's a bit of a concern.
Learn from the past.
You reckon you're a better cricketer when you a better cricketer when you were 15 than you are now.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about wicket keeping? Talk us through how that came about.
Yeah, so it was this game in Gunma that I think it was before the Monsters was made, and me and Ash just joined the club called Little Turns, who are another Chiba-based club back then. I think they'll be shorter players, so we joined them, went to this Gunma ground, and we were taking turns in terms of wicket keeping. And one of the boys just threw me this pair of weird looking gloves, and I had seen my dad do it, so I did try to copy him and crouch down and just take the ball when someone told me, like, mate, you're pretty good at it. And I've stuck to it ever since.
Funny how things turn out, isn't it? It's like the kid who gets given the goalkeeping gloves when he was, 8 years old. So yeah, just going to stand in goal, mate. And next thing you know, he's a Premier
Yeah.
League goalkeeper. So you mentioned previously you played against guys like Makoto Taniyama, Tsuyoshi Takada, Kohei Wakita, Nozomi Tomizawa during those matches in the under 15s and under 19s, and then the Sano boys as well.
Yep.
Reiji Tsutoshi, Noguchi, etc. The Japanese cricket community, these guys have all gone on to become teammates at under 19 and at senior level. The Japanese cricket community is pretty tight. Like, it's growing, but it's still, everyone kind of knows each other, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that it's a friendly place to be and a positive environment to play sport in?
Yeah, definitely. Because as I said, a lot of these people from quite a while ago, and we've been pretty good mates for a while too. So, and I'm just happy that people continue to play cricket because, as I said, with those school sports and stuff, people do go away from the sport, and I just love the fact that they stick to cricket, and their love for the game is probably
It's pure, right?
yeah
It's exactly like it should be, and it's
yeah
something that frustrates the hell out of me when I read articles about Japan cricket, and they always start with, "Oh, you wouldn't expect the Japanese to play cricket," and it's like, why not?
yeah
It's a sport; anyone can play it. That's like saying you wouldn't expect the French to swim. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a ridiculous comment that has no grounded on anything. So I think that it is exactly as you say. It's really pleasing when you see people, Japanese kids who've come through a system, a normal Japanese school system, guys like Tani and Takadi, and they absolutely love their cricket.
yeah
And proof it is a sport for anyone.
yeah. And I think people gel really well because we do have different communities with there are a lot of clubs around Kasai who are basically based around Indian people, but they gel really well with us too. And there are a lot of Sri Lankans here that gel well with our community. So I think there are different communities within the Japan cricket community, but I think it's a pretty friendly environment. Just
Yeah,
Japan cricket alone.
I think it's an interesting point you make. Particularly the Indian community, they're very, passionate on the field, and that can sometimes be misinterpreted to being a bit scary, perhaps. But more often than not, as soon as the game's over, lovely guys to chat to, really friendly, really just passionate about their cricket and just want to talk about cricket.
Yeah.
And that can really help to, I think, break down cultural barriers and help influence the wider community about cricket.
Yeah.
So I hope that I certainly know that there are plenty of guys in the expat community who do take that seriously and do want to grow the game here, and that's great to have. Yeah,
I think the guys who start playing cricket at the university leagues will be quite surprised at how well this Japan community is gelled, because I think they're coming into cricket community. I think they are a bit scared of the foreigners and these other expat players, but they are great people and they are easy to get on with. So I think that is something that is another way to love the game, I think.
Definitely. So on that same lines, is there anyone in particular, I guess I'm looking more at the Chiba Sharks, but anyone in particular who's had a big influence on your cricket?
Yeah, I think the big chief, Dougal Bedingfield, definitely has some. Because as I said, I know him since I was 4, so I do know the guy for quite a while, and just on and off the field, especially when you're batting, having him at the no strikers, and it's not every day you get that with a coach, because he's a serious cricket coach too, and to have that, I don't know, not coaching, but the support from the other side of the crease is, not everyone can have, and I'm very, very lucky that I've had him for like the last couple of years, and I mean, the stuff he's taught me is definitely helped me, and there are some stuff that he said 5 years ago that I didn't really get back then, but starting to understand little by little. So yeah, always listen to the chief.
Yeah, cool. So it's been an interesting little journey for you and your Japan Cricket League career anyway. You didn't make your debut until 2016 when you would have been, 15 years old.
Yeah.
It took you till 2020 to get your first half century, but that's followed pretty quickly with your first 100 this year. So fair to say that it took a little while to adapt to that level.
Yeah, I think it did in terms of batting because I've always thought that I was a good enough keeper to play first 11 for the Sharks. So, I mean,
Other than your dad, right? Who was a
yeah,
keeper.
definitely. Yeah. I think Amiga told me in my first game that I was playing like, he told me, I think he was batting and he turned around and said, mate, you're moving better than your dad. And I said, like, sweet, thank you. So, yeah. So there's a bit of that. So I think the first couple of years, my focus was more on wicket keeping. I think that was my number one priority. But I always wanted to score these runs, definitely. But we had so many good players around me who already had their spots. So I did struggle to find my spot, and just the game of 40, the understanding of the game of the longer format, because a lot of cricket that I've played before was under 15s and under 19s, which was all T20. So just understanding that the time you've got, and I don't know, I mean, building it in, because in 40 overs, you're batting like twice longer than T20. So you do have, a lot of times, and, there's more time than you think there is. So I think,
Yeah, and certainly in Japan, if you're scoring
yeah,
200, you're in the game.
yeah,
most of the
definitely.
time.
Yeah.
So that's only 5 and over.
Yeah.
So whereas playing T20 cricket, you still want to be scoring 8 and over. So,
Yeah.
It gives you a bit more time to, like you say, play yourself in, get used to the deck,
And
size of the bowlers, etc.
For that first couple of years of my JCL career, I was still playing under 19s, which was all T20, and I think I was playing more T20 back then. So I definitely saw myself as a shorter format player. Not saying that I was good Japan Cup player, but I did find that balancing in between two formats very challenging, and I thought I can bring those T20 techniques into 40 overs cricket, which does work sometimes, but doesn't always work. So, as I say, it took a while to understand the 40 overs game.
The other thing that's changed, I guess, it's just something that's come to me now, is I can't remember exactly what year it was, maybe 2019, that we switched all of our cricket to white ball.
Yeah.
So you'd been playing white ball in junior cricket, but red ball in JCL up until then.
Yeah.
Do you think that made a difference as well?
Not really, because at the end of the day, there's a bowler bowling at you, and when you're batting, you're trying to watch the ball as carefully as you can and hit it. So I don't think the ball's done too much, but I do like the white ball better, just because I think the way Japan cricket is now, with all the teams in coloured uniforms with white ball, makes more sense, because we're not playing 2 days cricket, and I think it looks more organised.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Although I do miss the whites. I'd like to sneak a 2-day game or somewhere.
Yeah. So looking at the JCL, the Chiba Sharks are now in what could probably be defined as a era of success, 3 grand finals in 4 years.
Yeah.
You've played in all of those.
Yeah.
So going back to the first one, bit of a theme in your career of losing first and then coming back stronger. So 2018 final, you had to stand behind the stumps whilst Amigo and Vinay put on 173 as an opening partnership. That must have been pretty tough going with your first grand final.
Yeah, that was a nightmare. Because that was the only occasion that Dougal won the toss and bowled. So, and I see a joke about it with Takada when Dougal's not there. So, yeah, just that partnership. I thought we were going to get in pretty early, just because, the uncertainty of the pitch. But to their credit, they batted so well that game, basically won them a game. And and coming back the year after, playing against the same team, we knew that, we had to be on. We knew what we wanted to do. So it definitely made us more passionate.
Yeah, that 2019 team, I spoke to Vinay actually.
Yeah.
earlier in the year, and he came on the podcast, and he said that he really noticed the difference between the 2018 Sharks and the 2019 Sharks. Many of the same players, almost the exact same team, really, but just a year older, a year smarter, and a year better. And that the boys of the year before had kind of become men, and it kind of took them by surprise a little bit how hard you guys came at them, and thoroughly deserved to win it in 2019. I think you guys had finished top of the league that year as well, right?
Yeah, I think in that 2019 grand final, I think there was a whole year of build up from that. Obviously from that the loss in 2018. I think we had pretty much the same team, and it was a great mix of the young players and slightly older players, like experienced players like Dougal and Big Clumper Johnson from Jamaica. So in that year, I think everyone understood their role a bit more. And I think when you have 11 players who understand their role in the team, it really helps, make a good cricket team. And I think in that year, players, I don't know, it's hard to say, but understood their roles better, and the execution was pretty much perfect in that grand final.
Yeah, I think clarity of roles is really important. It's something that we want to try and strive for with all of our teams. So then you've been moving up the order after that grand final. Since 2020, you've been opening the batting and got your first 100 this year, as we mentioned. That seems to have always been your preferred position. Is that very much the case?
Yeah, it is definitely. I do like opening better than other spots because I like the new ball to start with because it just pings off better off the bat. I mean, there is a challenge against the swinging balls, but when you know your shots and when you execute them right, you do get rewarded. You do get your rewards for it. And with attacking fields, there are more gaps too, and obviously
like to go hard early as well.
Yeah, and with the power play, you can go over as well if you want to. So I think it gives you more options to get into the game.
So, talk us through how the win this year is different to the win in 2019.
Yeah, I think it's hard to compare those two because they're both special, but they are like different kind of special. Because as I said, the last grand final we did have a lot of experienced players doing well in that game, but this year I think throughout the year I think the younger boys really stood up this year and stood up in the big moments. So I think it was just another success story of Chiba Sharks investing in younger players.
Yeah, a few guys really come through. I mean, yourself, you've had a decent season. You're averaging like 35 or something with the bat, and obviously Ibi Takahashi's had an outstanding season. And Deba Sahu hasn't necessarily clicked yet with the bat, but came off well in the final. That must have been quite pleasing.
Found form in grand final, last game of the season. How good.
Well, the other guy who's got a habit of finding form in the grand final is Takada.
Yeah.
MVP 2 grand finals that you've been in. How does he do it?
It's a bit unfair, isn't it, taking all those great moments? I mean, I honestly don't know how he does it, but I don't know. He was batting on a different deck the other day because it wasn't that easy out there. So I honestly don't know how he does it, but I don't know. I wish I could do something like that.
Yeah, he certainly did make it look easy.
In terms of his games, I think he's turned over. I think he doesn't bowl anymore, and he concentrates purely on his batting now. So I think having one focus in the game helps because I think when you're all rounder, you can still have a bad day with the bat, but you can have a good day with the ball. But when you're a specialist bat, you can't have that. So it is your bat has to do the talking. So I think he's really stood up there as a specialist bat.
I think he probably puts himself under a bit of pressure as well. But when he gets it right, he needs to just remember that he's very capable of batting.
Yeah,
it's something that we've talked about off air before earlier this season. That 100 you scored against the Tigers, you just concentrated on batting. You had a lot going on at that time, and perhaps weren't loving your cricket as much. And so being able to, on that, I spoke to you that morning, I remember, and you were feeling, you sounded like a half dead man. but then you came together and you managed to get that first 100.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that and how that kind of changed your outlook on the season.
Yeah, as you said, I wasn't enjoying my cricket, which doesn't often happen, but with it was my first month of proper university studies, which is all online. So, it is at times it is hard to motivate yourself to get those blocks done. And with the JPL there was some work that I had to do for JCA, so I was pretty busy at the time, and it was another case of struggling to balance all that with cricket. And I don't know that in that 100, I think all I was thinking in that 100 was about my assignments that I had to submit I think it was the next day or something. So that actually helped me because it made me not think about other stuff that I'd usually be thinking during batting, because I think I was thinking about, I think this is another thing that Dougal taught me, is like batting is simple. Like you don't have to think about, all those other stuff. And I think I used to think too much about my, way is my feet moving, is my balance right, it's my backlift right, all those stuff. But I think, having that assignments basically helped me just focus on the ball that was coming at me. So, I mean, it did tell me the lesson that batting is simple, and at the end of the day, it's a bowler bowling at you, and you have your bat and you have to hit the ball. So, I think, as Dougal's been saying for years, batting is simple.
Yeah, it's quite easy to overthink things, and when you're standing out in the middle, you're in that moment, and you can become fully engrossed in it. Whereas actually, the best players that are able to switch off between balls, think about something else, talk about where they're going for dinner that night, whatever it might be, chat to your partner, have a laugh, just relieve the pressure. Because if you're just constantly thinking about everything that's going on around you and putting that pressure on yourself to succeed, then it can become quite difficult.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So moving on from that stuff, the Chiba Sharks as a club, as we mentioned, have been pretty successful, ran to the Japan Cup finals and then the grand final of that competition as well, 2 finals this year. You're an example of the Sharks' investment in youth. Do you and the other young players who have come through feel a particularly strong tie to the club and a desire to take it forward?
Yeah, definitely, because as you said, me and my friends have been playing cricket together for a while now, from the My Way system to the Chiba Sharks now. So, I mean, we've got, a lot to thank the people who have worked, so many people who've worked very hard behind the scenes. Guys like Yumi Ishimoto, the Chiba My Way's manager, and, Dave Loback, Chris Bain, and Anton Lloyd Williams have all contributed. There are many people that I should have mentioned here, but there are a lot of people who've worked very hard to keep cricket in Chiba alive. So I think what they've done for us is something that we definitely appreciate, and like going forward in the future, it is a no-brainer that we give back the club what they've given us.
Yeah, they've been set an example for you guys to follow, and hopefully that you guys can continue to inspire the next generation of players. And you do a bit of coaching at the Monstars now as well, right?
Yeah, I coach. So that's the club. The Chiba Monsters is the club my parents made for me when I started playing cricket. So I think that is another place that I give back to, because I mean those kids are amazing. Like some of those kids do struggle at schools and classes and stuff, and they come into cricket once a week and they just enjoy it. Like those kids, they love their cricket probably more than me, and it's just great environment to be in. And I just love pure Japanese kids enjoying their cricket. And one of the kids tell me that he wants to play for Japan one day. So that's the sort of things that you want to hear, and that's the sort of things that it makes you more passionate about playing cricket, whether it is playing cricket or I don't know, just taking part in cricket and helping cricket.
It reminds me a little bit of that famous quote from Nelson Mandela, who said that sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that very little else does. Sport can awaken hope where once there was only despair, and sport speaks to the youth in the language that they understand. And I think when you talk about guys who are, might be having trouble at home or at school or at work or whatever it is, and they could come to a cricket training or a cricket game day, and if it's an hour or several hours that they get to take their mind off whatever troubles it is they've got in their life, cricket amongst all sports with that social element, that time together off the field when you're watching your two teammates bat, can really be a great escape and a great outlet for people. And I think that it's good that you're in there coaching these kids and trying to spread the right messages, and hopefully you can continue to do that for a long time.
Yeah, I think, and what I try to do there is, as I said, like, they need to have fun. Like, cricket needs to be fun, and we play it at the players code sports arena, which you have like other sports there there are other sports like basketballs and volleyballs going on around you, which are more intense. I want to say more like the Bukatsu system that we spoke about before, but and we have this cricket here who it's just like pure fun. So I think that is something that I am passionate about, bringing those, just to make sure those kids are enjoying cricket.
Well, that concludes part one of my conversation with Marcus. I should apologize for the amount of baby screaming that you had in the background there. I can promise you that she had fallen asleep by the time we got on to part two, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue in the next section, where in that section we will be discussing Marcus's time as an international cricketer, playing for Japan under 19s, the World Cup in South Africa, and all that went with that. So it's another great episode. Please do tune in next week to hear it. In the meantime, arigatou gozaimashita.